do you do? My name is Alfred Hitchcock, and I would like to tell you about my forthcoming lecture. It is about the birds and their age-long relationship with man. It will be seen in theaters like this across the country. In my lecture, I hope to make you all aware of our good friends, the birds. Theirs is a noble history, and through it all, man has played a conspicuous part.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Whoop.
This week, that was something. This week, we'll be doing the Alfred Hitchcock classic, The Birds, starring Tippi Hedren, Rod Taylor, Jessica Tandy, Suzanne Pleshette. It's an all-star cast, for God's sakes. Veronica Cartwright, who it was shocking when I realized she was in this. It is truly an all-star cast. What up?
Oh my God, dude. Our Instagram account is blowing up, but mostly it is terrifying people. The minute I follow back, I immediately start getting messages, and it's always some chick's tits and like a video of a crotch, or it's just some rando going, "What's your number?" I'm like, "What's your number, motherfucker?"
I had no idea the bacchanalia that is Instagram, clearly. Sweet Lord.
It is out of control. I'm going to have to buy one of those snooper softwares because I'm getting like 10 follows a day. And I'm like, and it's just so random. And I'm like, you followed me first. So why are you sending me all these messages? Are you interested in my art? Is that why you're following me? What? You followed me.
Sweet Jesus.
I was just being polite.
Follow. See, that's the trap you fall into, the follow back. Because you think
the follow back.
Because here's the thing. It's like, and I've discovered this in Twitter world, is that somebody follows you, you give them the courtesy follow back. You're not really reading their bio. You have to watch out if it's some kind of QAnon, neo-Nazi organization that's happening to like crappy movies. So you never know. You gotta be aware. Gotta watch out.
Well, I'm more discerning in my private Instagram, but I figure it's balls out for the podcast that wouldn't die. It's literally people who, when you have groups on Facebook and some rando like hacks it and starts just posting these random videos of people being swallowed by snakes or just stupid stuff. Those are our followers on Instagram.
Hey, we don't discriminate.
And just straight up pornography. That there are a few people with Halloween in their names, but there's also a very strong sexual current even with those folks.
This is your fault because we did Flesh for Frankenstein. People think that's what we're about. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not what we're about.
What's it all about? It's about something.
It's about something.
It's about something.
No, I always laugh. I was on Facebook. I try not to go on Facebook as often as I like, but please follow us on Facebook. And you'll be having a couple of years ago, there was like the thread for our like high school reunion coming up. And then halfway through, somebody's like, "Hey, do you suffer from erectile dysfunction?" And I'm like, "Who's been talking? The word is out." Sweet
It
Jesus.
is. All my camera groups. It's every group when there's not an administrator just checking in daily are now hacked by people with Indian surnames, and it's like my photography groups. Now I'm watching people wrestling alligators. It's the job. It's the antique group. I'm like, what? I am tired of reporting to the administrator. So if I have to report every day, we're out. We're
out. So anyway, The Birds. Why don't you give us your 30-second synopsis of The Birds?
And this is our second Hitchcock, I want to say, because I forced you to watch my favorite. What was that, Kevin?
Shadow of a Doubt.
Shadow of a Doubt. This one is more monstery. This is more of like an M. Night Shyamalan-y.
Right. No question.
This is like the beginning of When Nature Attacks. I don't know if there's an earlier movie of nature attacking, but I'm going to call it and say it's this.
I think you might be right. Hit me with the summary. Let's do this.
Paris Hilton in San Francisco, hanging out, being a prankster, doesn't have to work. She's a lady who lunches and pulls shenanigans. Runs into a handsome gentleman who apparently knew exactly who she was and played her for a fool at a pet store. Anyway, he called her out on her shit, and she decided to pull one more prank. So she was going to follow him to the little town where he lived and was going to leave some birds on his doorstep with a little snarky note, ha ha ha, before a seagull tried to crack her noggin.
Succeeded.
Boom! Suddenly, birds everywhere. Boom, boom. Ah, she's a sea witch. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Birds are trying to bite children. They're pecking the eyes out of old men. And then it stops. Or does it? The end.
Bum, bum, bum. Do you
People
remember?
die.
Now, this movie is, what is it, 60 years old? When was the first time you remember seeing this? Do you have any recollection?
No. I have no idea. No idea.
This is the first
But I've
time.
seen it 10,000 times. It has literally been on my DVR. I recorded it once, and it's been on. I can't ever get rid of cable because I have all these movies that are perpetually on my DVR.
From Turner Classic Movies or whatever?
It's like, exactly. Like Halloween 20 years ago, I recorded it, and I clicked the button that says keep forever.
This is the first time I've seen this all the way through. Like,
Shut your mouth.
isn't that crazy? I've seen scenes from it. Because, if you ever watch, the Bravo's 100 scariest scenes from a movie or whatever those things are, they always have one or two scenes from The Birds. The greatest suspense moments in history. But I had never sat through it all the way through. And what's shocking to me is it's like 45 minutes before Tippi Hedren gets whacked in the head with a bird.
That's the best way, man. That's the best way. Because something bad's going to happen, but it's the build. You can't have these damn birds pecking your eyes out for 2 hours. You got to build up to it.
You got to build. Clearly, that's a Hitchcock kind of thing. And it's a different time. This is like 1962 or something. So it's a lot of it's a slow burn. It's a slow burn. Audiences today would be like, what the hell? Give me a bird.
See,
give me the bird.
It doesn't bother me because, one, I like old movies. Plus, I like looking at the older cities. Like, I like watching the old movies where they show like L.A., when there's still streetcars, I like this one because it's still San Francisco. People all are dressed nice. People are wearing hats. It's places. They go out to like Bodega Bay. It's like a sleepy little village. Let me tell you, we can't afford to live there anymore.
It's the place to be. No question.
It is incredibly expensive. It's not some sleepy little town.
Well, I do appreciate that the first person that Tippi Hedren meets, what's her name? Melanie Daniels. Melanie. Coincidence? Because people who made
is it a coincidence, or she'd never heard that name and she kind of filed it away? If I have a daughter, I'm going to name her Melanie.
Well, she was in her 30s. Tippi Hedren was in her 30s when she did this movie. She was like 32, and she already had Melanie. So she was already so not a coincidence.
I thought you were implying something. Shut the hell up. What's going on
I just asked the questions. I don't even remember what my point was. Anyway, so Melanie Daniels goes up, and the first person she meets has the thickest Maine accent. I'm like, wasn't she just in San Francisco?
I wrote this down. Why is everybody like from New Hampshire or something all of a sudden in California? Like
How
we
long's
got
this drive?
lots of lobsters. Yeah, that's a hell of a drive. Drop some damn lovebirds off. What was that about?
We have to talk about that whole thing. So she's at the beginning of the movie. She's at the pet store in San Francisco trying to get a minor bird because later in the movie it's revealed she wants to teach the minor bird how to drop F-bombs to her Aunt Tessa, who she doesn't like. She's going to give it as a gift.
I love that pet store. Did you notice there was monkeys in the front window? That's the old school days when you get endangered species birds. There was like toucans in there. I remember when you used to have minor birds. I haven't seen a minor bird in like 50 years, but I remember we were at a pet store with mom, and the pet store, dude, if you want this bird, you can have it, and it talked too. Have you ever seen a minor bird?
I've never seen. I mean, I've heard of them, but I've never seen them.
I haven't seen one since I was a child. In my recollection, they look like a big raven or something, but I think they have a yellow beak. But that's my memory. I haven't Googled it. And mom's like, no, there's no such thing as a free pet. I was like, what? The man at the pet store said we could have a free minor bird.
Lies.
Well,
clearly lies. You're right about this pet store, though.
It was a two-story pet store filled with monkeys and exotic birds.
They had a pygmy chained up in the corner. It was the craziest thing. I'm like, what kind of place is this?
Oh, is it Nightmare Alley? Where do they keep the geek?
It was absolutely Nightmare Alley. So she's in there. She's in there trying to buy her bird, but of course the bird has not arrived yet. And Rod Taylor, who I only know from The Time Machine, by the way.
Oh my God, he is so good looking. He kind of looks like Treat Williams a little bit.
He's got a little treat. Well, basically this movie is, and you can see this, it's like we couldn't get Grace Kelly, so let's do Tippi Hedren. We couldn't get Cary Grant, so let's do Rod Taylor. That's basically.
But Rod Taylor is all right. I mean, it's not like he's missing an eye and his face is mismatched.
Well, he's Australian. He's Australian, so he's got kind of yes. That's what I'm saying. Cary Grant has his own crazy mid-Atlantic accent of indeterminate origin. Rod Taylor has his own mid-Pacific accent of indeterminate origin. I
literally had no idea.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, he comes in and assumes she's like a clerk working there, or so we think. And she takes one look at him and she's like, I'll play along. Cool. Whatever you say, big boy. Later, he reveals that he knew who she was all along and was just messing with her. And she gets pissed at him. If she would have said, I don't work here, buddy, then the joke is over.
Right.
Right. But
that's what she is. She's Paris Hilton. She's playing along. You know, everything's fun. Everything's funny.
If Marty Feldman came into the bird shop, she would have given him the foot in the ass. She wouldn't have played along for him. I'll tell you that.
She's got Marty Feldman eyes.
Oh, sweet Jesus. So you're right. So he is like, I'm looking for, 2 lovebirds for my sister's birthday. And she leads him around, clearly has no idea about any of the birds. She's like, I think this is one. He's like, isn't that a canary? No,
it's a red bird. Oh, a red bird.
You know it, don't you?
Dog. I don't know nothing about birds, but I knew that was a damn canary.
Right. So chastened, she's like kind of pissed off at him. And she's like, I'm going to buy these damn lovebirds for him. And I'm going to leave him outside his door. But he drives to Bodega Bay, which is an hour and a half north. This ain't just out of town. This is an hour and a half north of San Francisco. So she's got nothing but time on her hands, evidently. And nothing better than to stick the landing of a practical joke, although I don't know what the joke is at this point. Hey, I bought you a free gift.
Hey, I broke into your house. Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Trespass. That's part of it. So she drives up and goes to Bodega Bay, which is small, sleepy. It's literally like she's magically transported to Maine, right?
Apparently.
And
maybe it's one of those what are those time worms or something where you jump in one side and appear the other? What's that?
A wormhole?
Wormhole.
Not a time worm, as far as I know. I don't know what that is. That sounds kind of perverse.
You get some medicine for that at the CVS.
To clear it right up. So she like literally is like asking people on the street, how do I find this guy? The guy who works at the bait shop is like, well, talk to the nursery school teacher down the street. She'll probably give up the info. Everybody's just giving up the info. You know, if this is like Glenn Close, they're getting sued, is all I'm saying.
We were a less litigious society back then.
Good, what one would hope. So she paddles across the bay. Again, she's now committed 3 hours to this venture.
So Paris Hilton also understands how to use an outboard motor. Because let me tell you, I don't.
Well, you just kind of crank it like a lawnmower and you just kind of do your thing, right? No? I don't know.
I don't know. Hence the part where I say, I don't know.
Is that what that means? And we haven't even talked about the fact that Rod Taylor, who's at least 40 in this movie, has a sister who looks like she's 11.
Well, I have to say, Tippi doesn't look exactly that young. She doesn't look like she's in her 20s. She looks her age. She's a rough 30.
Oh, I don't have an issue with Tippi Hedren.
She's a 1962 30 for sure.
Oh, no question. Right, no. She's age appropriate. My question is, how does Rod Taylor, who's 40, have a little sister who's 11? That's my question.
It's one of those miracle babies.
Clearly.
I knew people who were younger than their aunts, older than their aunts.
Well, but that's a different situation. That's a,
like in high school and college, like babies were being born. I don't want to have to mention that we have a nephew who was born while his oh my God, now I've completely lost my whole story.
Good Lord. Spilling the beans.
We have a sister-in-law who was pregnant the same time her mother was pregnant, if you recall, without naming names.
I don't know if I do. Who the... Anyway, this is not good podcast.
An ex-sister-in-law.
Okay.
So
yes.
It's possible.
Yes.
Mathematically, things happen.
Yeah. Look, I went to high school with a buddy whose aunt was younger than him. I get that. And yes, is it possible to have a 30-year age difference between siblings? Yes. It's just bizarre. That's all I'm saying.
We don't know. I mean, Rod Taylor is 40, but is he playing 40? You know what I'm saying?
He looked like he could have been the father of this child. And maybe he was. Who's to say? This is a small New England town, evidently.
Oh, I have a theory that either the mother or Suzanne Plachette, in fact, are the ones that caused all that they're actually witches. What do you think about that?
That's entirely possible. It wouldn't shock me at all. We meet Rod Taylor's little sister, and we meet his mother, who's Jessica Tandy, which I swear this is the only time I've seen Jessica Tandy where she wasn't 75 years old.
That was Jessica Tandy?
Yes!
I didn't even look.
Yes! Jessica Tandy.
What the what? She was old in 1962.
Yes. Well,
just not as old.
How old do you think she's supposed to be? 55?
Right. You know
60?
what? She's probably like in her 50s, because 50s and long ago was old. And you looked old and you dressed old, and that's just how you lived your life.
Well, she had gray hair. She was an older lady. Okay. Now she wasn't
she was 49.
That's the sad situation.
It's hard to tell when you look at older movies and older photographs.
Yes.
Because people they had a harder life and they looked it.
Okay. I always have to talk about this. Cocoon. Jessica Tandy. Cocoon is like 25 years after The Birds. Jessica Tandy and her real life husband, Hume Cronin, are clearly 1,000 years old when Cocoon rolls out. One of their contemporaries in the movie is Wilford Brimley, who later we discovered was like 47.
That's right. That's shocking thing.
Isn't
47.
That Wilford Brimley.
80. That's not the way you want to do in your career.
That's always a sad situation when they have like literally Don Amici. You have these actors who were big like 30 years prior.
Right.
And then you've got Wilford
40s,
Brimley.
People who were big in the 40s and 50s.
Yes. And then you got Wilford Brimley's like, I just started acting on Tuesday. and I'm 47 years old.
I look like I'm 80, but I'm not.
And it's not just the diabetes.
The diabetes. Now, tell me, Jessica Tandy and Hume Crone, that was the couple from the movie X, right?
The answer is, it might as well have been. Might as well have been. Sweet Jesus.
You'll have to tune in, kids, for later on when we review that movie.
That is correct. No, but I mean, you can see Jessica Tandy was an attractive lady who was probably in her 50s.
Very well put together,
yes.
Very well managed, yes.
Absolutely.
A stick that went right up her ass and came out the top of her head.
No question. She also had that kind of interesting mid-Atlantic accent. Well, what we call, yes, I'm British, but I'm desperately trying to convey that I'm all-American. I don't know what the situation is.
Oh my
Who's
God.
to say?
It is a mismatch of strange accents. Was it a penal colony? Like Maine was full, so they took I don't know, the Cape of good. I don't know my capes or geography anymore. When they go around Argentina and pop up in San Francisco because Maine was full, and they had to get rid of their sex perverts somewhere.
That is correct. And the only thing they brought with them were their crazy accents. That's all they could bring. Just keep in mind, this movie takes place an hour and a half north of San Francisco, California. Not
California, my friends. Little known fact.
This ain't
we
Bangor,
don't have
Maine.
an accent. We don't have accents here. Y'all do.
This is the proper accent. I want the world to know California is the proper accent. So there you go. Moving on with our lives. Sweet Jesus. And then Veronica Cartwright, who plays the little sister, has got those crazy blue eyes that only appear in movies. And it's like, I've seen her in other things as an adult woman. And I don't remember her eyes being that blue. Like, they're like freakish.
And she has the Betty Page bang. She was a very unattractive child.
Oh, Veronica Cartwright, if you're listening, no offense. But she managed, this is kind of when we talk about the cast, but she was in Alien. She was in frickin' Invasion of the Body Snatchers. She was in Witches of Eastwick. She kept popping up.
She's the hardest working woman in showbiz.
Easily the hardest working woman in show business. Now, we discovered Suzanne Pleshette, who I did not recognize. It wasn't until later I was doing research.
Shut your mouth. And she has a voice like a sex pot. She could do 1-800 numbers in like the 80s if she wanted to.
It's that Kathleen Turner kind of husky. Yeah, no question.
Later on, it became more like just like a wheezy smoker thing. But at the time, everything about her I thought was kind of, she's the opposite of Tippy. Tippy is probably more like Jessica Tandy. Very kind of rigid. She plays like a Paris Hilton, but she's very in control. Whereas where Suzanne Pleshette in this was a cat. She had the moves of a cat. Her voice was sexy. Everything she did was sexy.
Who do you think was older, Tippi Hedren or Suzanne Pleshette in this movie?
All right. It's a hard one because I want to say Tippi Hedren, but I suspect it's Suzanne Pleshette. I'm going to say Tippi.
Ready?
Go.
Tippi was 5 years older.
Yeah.
Suzanne Pleshette was 25 thereabouts when she did this movie. Yeah.
Can you imagine that she did not see 25 was like, I don't know, 40 back then or something. I can't imagine any of these people were in their 20s.
No, she had a 3-pack a day Pall Mall addiction up to this point.
Right.
That gave her that. When you said Wheezy, I thought you meant like Wheezy from the Jeffersons. George!
Moving on up!
George, I'm going to the center with Helen.
No, it was more like Brenda Vaccaro in 1980s tampon commercials where she was like...
That sounds horrific.
I'll post it on our Facebook.
Anywho, please don't. So we discover Suzanne Pleshette, who runs the one-room schoolhouse in Bodega Bay. We discover she was somebody who also was from San Francisco, who followed Rod Taylor up here because she had her eye on him. And the Jessica Tandy kind of gave her the thumbs down, which effectively ended any possibility of a relationship. But she was so enamored with Rod Taylor that she gave up her life in San Francisco to become the school marm. And I mean, this is kind of stalkerish behavior. Wouldn't you agree?
It was literally the saddest thing you ever saw, just so she could look across the bay at his house and like
it was
have
awful.
a life herself. Horrible.
And there's no moment where Tippi Hedren hears this story and he goes like, I think I'm gonna sleep in my car if it's all the same to you. I'm out of here. Well, because there was no place else for her to stay in town. Evidently, all the hotels were booked solid in the sleepy little main.
Well, it's ridiculous.
Place.
You're here to basically break this poor woman's heart. She's desperate to be with, I don't know, Rod Steiger or whatever his name is.
Not Rod Steiger. Star of Amityville and the loud vomiting.
But I mean, the poor woman, I mean, hello, stranger. You mind? I have a bag with some chonies and a crazy grandma
sleeping gown. Yes.
And did you notice she wears the same outfit for 5 days? She's just marinated in her chonies. Jessica Tandy couldn't or Suzanne Pleshette couldn't like lend her a house coat or something.
They had no more clothes in town.
Oh, God.
It's very sad. You're right. Well, she was just coming up for the day to drop off the lovebirds. And then, she's hit in the head by a bird. And then kind of the romance starts to blossom a little bit. And then it's like, I guess I'm wearing the same dirty drawers for 5 days.
5 days.
Very upsetting.
With blood and bird feces and whatever else.
That's what attracted the birds. It's a sad situation. Oh, sweet Jesus. So there's that whole subplot of Tippi Hedren, who's not sure. She's like, he's a handsome guy. I mean, we barely know each other. Is a romance blossoming? And can we talk about Tippi Hedren's hair? It's a weird kind of wave that kind of goes down the side of her head.
I was staring at that. And it didn't move for 5 days.
She did not. There's not a long scene of her braiding the back of her hair and then leaving the weird wave coming down.
I kept staring at that. I mean, it looked like one of those molded plastic wigs, like when I was a kid. Because otherwise, how are you even sleeping? How are you even doing that? Because Suzanne Pleshette is natural. So, I mean, that was some complicated business going on in her hair. But anyway, that's not the most interesting part of this movie. How the ladies get along. What's interesting is how psychotic Jessica Tandy is and how evil she is to anyone who is, it's like a reverse Oedipus.
An Electra complex is what it's called.
Isn't Electra where you want to sleep with your dad? This is like the mom wants to sleep with her son.
That's just called a crime in 49 states. I don't know what it is. Only 49 though. I want to be clear.
Plechette's explanation made no damn sense whatsoever. She's not afraid of losing in him. She's afraid of being abandoned. And?
Or is it just semantics?
Yeah.
She's not afraid of losing. She's afraid of gaining. Gaining what? I don't know. It sounded good when we wrote it in the script. Who the hell knows what you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't know.
Madness.
Because, basically anyone who comes near her son gets the shifty eye. So frankly, Suzanne Pleshette, except for her psychotic move to move out there, is better off. Because, her husband would have been a total pussy. So what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, yes, her life is better off, except for the fact that she's like stuck in suspended animation, living as a school marm in some one-horse town where only other men are like 95-year-old Maine fishermen.
Yeah, a couple of Norwegian dwarves who work over at the general store.
Norwegian dwarf. This took a dark turn. So Tippi Hedren is, like you said, she's like a socialite. Her dad is wealthy and owns the newspaper.
So he's a Hearst?
And Jessica...
He's a Hearst.
He's a Hearst. but Jessica Tandy knows about Tippi Hedren because there was a story in her dad's newspaper about how she was in Rome and was swimming naked in the Trevi Fountain. I'm not sure how it works, but she was swimming naked.
She said it was a rival newspaper. This is becoming like Citizen Kane all of a sudden. It was a rival newspaper. Do you think this is Patty Hearst? It's the Patty Hearst story.
It is.
This is how
it's the Symbionese
That's
Liberation
why she
Army.
was so ready to just join up.
You better believe it. So she kind of says, hey, I wasn't swimming naked in the fountain. I was pushed in the fountain and my clothes just fell off.
No, they didn't fall
or something.
off.
I'm paraphrasing.
She was never naked, but she did reflect after that time that she was running with a fast crowd. I don't even know what that
She was running with the devil. Yeah, exactly.
What's a fast crowd in like 1960? I'm not sure. Because these were not flower people by the way she was dressed up.
No, clearly not. Well, there were no flower people in 1961.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So it was just beatniks. Could have been beatniks.
Maybe she was over there. Jack Kerouac pushed her in.
It could be. Who's to say? What else was I going to say?
I like she volunteered at Traveler.
Anything else you want to talk about?
She volunteers at Traveler's Aid.
Right. Yes. She's got a lot of time on her hands. She's taken classes some days to learn the F word. I mean, she said something along those lines.
It was all a bunch of...
What is Traveler's Aid?
Traveler's Aid. I don't even know if they still have that. But they used to have these little offices at the airport. Like, you get into trouble, help. I don't know. I have no idea what they really do. But I always see them. I used to see them when I would travel. I'll have to find out.
Would you receive aid?
I didn't ask for anything. So... I don't know. So are you wrapping this whole thing up? I'm like, we haven't even
because we haven't talked about the bird.
I thought you were wrapping this up. No, we go to the cast.
Let's go. I think that's all we need to know. So the birds, there's no explanation for why the birds suddenly attack. And at the end of the movie, there's really no resolution.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Well, like the happening, but we did step on one thing. Who was coming out of the pet store when she was just going in?
Was that Alfred Hitchcock himself?
Walking two little like poodles or Pekingese or something. I love it.
A couple chimps.
If only. And then it ate his lips.
That's the next movie. No, so birds sporadically attack from time to time.
They're
the
like
first attack,
peppering you in the head, which I've had happen before. So maybe that was a warning.
It's not a lot of fun.
It hurts, even if they're little.
It's not a lot of fun. So she gets the first whack in the head by one lone gull, and they're like, "Oh, what happened? That's very strange." Then it's the 11-year-old birthday party. For the sister, I was gonna say the daughter, the sister, where it's attacked by crazy birds, and there's multiple scenes where it's just a kid laying on the ground dead, seemingly with a bird, a woodpecker pecking the back of its head. Ding, ding, ding,
it was
ding.
pretty impressive, I have to say. This was no piranha. Of course there were some Fako birds and some bird puppets. But there were a couple of images where you're like, one, can't you just knock that shit off your head? But two, it looked like it would hurt.
Yes. It wouldn't feel good, but I kept thinking to myself, if you just got like a tennis racket, you'd probably be okay, right? Just start swinging, pack.
Well, especially
not so much.
when the finches got in the house. I mean, what's a finch? 2 ounces?
Yes. Well, yes. So they run from the birds at the birthday party, run back into the house. Later, a bunch of little crazy birds go down the chimney and just attack. Oh my God, these tiny birds. What are we going to do? I have to say, I was not afraid of any birds in this movie.
I already forgot what you were saying because my sister-in-law I'm flipping the phone over, is texting me about 90 Day Fiancé. Sorry.
This is the kind of quality you get on this episode. I just hope the people who actually listen to the episode focus more than the hosts.
Mike from 90 Day Fiancé is very similar to maybe the Suzanne Plachette, where there's some stalkery business going on.
Oh, good.
Just FYI.
Did you find this movie scary?
I never found this movie scary, but I did find it exciting and interesting.
I think that's a fair assessment. That's a fair assessment because
I mean, for sure, it kept my attention.
yes,
And of course, they're going after the little kids and stuff. But some of those birds are messed up because I guess if you're just, you can be overwhelmed. I mean, when those finches come in later, I mean, you can see if you were a single person and some of these bigger birds and you're just covered and you can't, you're disoriented, you're in shock. That's why your eyes get plucked out. Pluck, pluck.
pluck, pluck. Oh, no question. Look, in the real world, yes, the idea of birds attacking you would be bad. That would be a bad situation. But watching
I think
it,
that's bad.
that would be bad with a capital B. But watching a movie where people are attacked by birds, I was not afraid. Not even a little bit. So,
But now, like say you go outside and there's a strange number of birds in a tree, do you think about that?
I would have to think about it. If I'm walking outside my school, we're both educators, we're both teachers. If you saw 1,000 black crows on the jungle gym, what would you do? That's the question.
Would you do what Suzanne Plachette does and have the kids leave the safety of the schoolhouse and just run down the street?
This is a good question. Okay, so Tippi Hedren goes to the schoolhouse to pick up the 11-year-old because Jessica Tandy wants her child home because there's birds attacking people on the loose. When Tippi Hedren pulls up, there's no birds on the jungle gym. Then there's 2 birds. Then there's 1,000 birds. Like she turns around and suddenly there's 1,000,000 like crows on there.
And they're like giant ravens just waiting there. Caw!
Just waiting. So she goes in, they're singing some kind of nonsense song. Is this where our tax dollars are going, by the way, where we spend a half
Must
an
be
hour?
one of those charter schools.
I guess. We're gonna sing this nonsense song for a half an hour. Get ready, girls and boys.
The best part is when she said, we're gonna send you guys home, the kids were upset.
Yes! That's exactly right.
That's the most unbelievable part of the whole movie. I can believe that the birds will come and peck my eyes out. I cannot believe that children offered to stay in school or go home said, don't make us go home.
That's exactly. Well, first she rolls in there and it's supposed to be recess time. And she says, boys and girls, we're not going to recess. They bitch and complain. That makes sense.
That's standard.
Instead, we're going home. The bitching and complaining continues. It's like, wait a minute. Maybe you didn't hear me correctly. Let me repeat that.
You're free. We don't have to sing this fucking song anymore. Na, 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 na. No, 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 no. I've got an earworm for that crazy song.
No question. So she says, kids, if you live nearby, run your little asses home. If you live far away, Tippi Hedren's going to lead you down the street for the next 20 miles. My house is next door, so I'll be good. I'll see you guys later.
It seems to me that there's teachers going to get fired. Because one, they must have a phone. Hey, and there's 12 kids. Hey, Susie Q's mom, can you drive over here? And then Susie only has to run 4 feet to get into the giant old school American made out of like iron cars with windshields, like a Pope mobile thick.
Yes.
Maybe do that, not just run like a
run for your life.
They're gonna peck your eyes out.
Exactly. I mean, we're teachers. How many times did you have a fire drill where you're imploring the children, sit quietly, and it's just anarchy? We're doing it in California. We're doing an active shooter drill. Everyone get under your desk and be quiet. Impossible. Screams, shouts, laughter. The birds would have killed us all.
Oh my God. I remember one time, this is before they told us what was happening. So we had an actual lockdown, but they don't tell you what the story is. Could be something across the street. It could be an active shooter on campus. We don't know. So a kid is now banging on my door.
You can't open the door.
Exterior door, but he's screaming, Misty, let me in. And he runs in. I let him in.
You broke the rules.
I let him in. He ran around the room telling everybody there was a shooter. And I'm like, I swear to you, son, you either sit your butt down right now
Or
or
back in
I
the
will
hall.
throw you back out into the hall.
It's true.
And it was all nothing, of course.
Of
But I
course.
was like, child,
It
this
could
is
be
the
a
state of
gas leak.
education.
It could be a swarm of killer bees. We don't know what the story is.
Exactly.
It's a sad
It was a
situation.
bunch of nonsense, and these damn kids. Let me tell you, you don't know.
You don't know. Now, there's a long scene where everybody's in the diner arguing about what's the likelihood that birds would suddenly attack each other. There's an amateur ornithologist who's like, "Oh, that's impossible, dearie. I am an expert in this field," with another
It was like
indecipherable
Anne
accent.
Marge
Yes.
if she was English,
Yes.
and just happened to be in Bodega Bay.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, there's like the woman and her children screaming, "Stop talking about this. You're upsetting the children, damn it."
You know what's upsetting the children is mom stopped at a bar in the middle of the day is having a whiskey or something. How about that? Maybe
Yes.
that's what's upsetting the children.
Oh, no question. Well, there's a scene where she's like, "How do I get to the freeway?" And there's a traveling salesman who's like, "Oh, I'll drive you. Let me just finish my drink. Down the hatch. Better make
Oh,
it
yeah.
a double."
Yeah, that was about 4 fingers of scotch there.
It was a simpler time.
It was a similar time. It relaxed you when you had to drive.
Ladies and gentlemen, there was a time where you would say, "I'll have one for the road."
One for the road, baby.
That
I
doesn't
drive
seem
better a
appropriate
little
these days.
buzzed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's old school. And of course, I don't even think there were seatbelts back in. When did we even have seatbelts? Not till the
Oh, no.
70s or something?
Not at all. People were going through
The
windshields all the time.
babies just rolled around.
They would say, it would be make sure you roll when you hit. I mean, it's basically the only advice they'd give. Very
The stop,
upsetting.
drop, and roll, that was meant for your car.
Definitely. Stop when I slam on the brakes. Anyway, so they're looking out the window, and I guess like a gas station attendant. Again, ladies and gentlemen, there used to be gas station attendants who would come and pump your gas for you. Something called full service. That doesn't exist anymore.
They check your oil and wash your windows.
All your fluids. Anywho, so he gets decked by a bird and drops the gas spigot. I don't know what it's called. The hose.
I think it's a spigot.
On the floor, and just gas is just flowing, free flowing. Rod Taylor runs out to make sure the guy's okay, literally slipping in the gasoline as he goes to check on the guy. Does not think maybe I should stop the flow of gasoline that's just flowing through the town.
Do you think in the 60s gas didn't smell like gas?
It's gasoline.
You would think you would have a punch of the face of gasoline as gallons and gallons are just rolling through town.
Absolutely. Well, these are old school gas pumps. So every set, it's like ding, 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 ding,
And
ding.
I think it's the extra lead that makes it better.
It's that extra lead, absolutely. So everybody, and this is a Alfred Hitchcock special where he kind of shows you the danger. Like the danger is the gasoline's just flowing. People don't seem to notice. Oh, there's a guy over there lighting his big old cigar as he's standing in a pool of gasoline. Whoa, what's going to happen?
It's cooling around your feet like the flood's coming. And the best part, the people in the diner are watching the whole thing. They pan from the gas pump and the people trying to help the man following the stream of the gasoline to the dude with the stogie. And then, they're like, no, but nobody goes outside. We're going to yell inside behind the mirror. No, don't do it.
Boom. Again, that's how you create the suspense, the drama. I'm telling you what's going to happen. You know this is coming. So
and you can't stop it.
And you can't stop it. Well, they could have if they would have ran up. I mean, literally, Tippi Hedren's watching the gasoline flow. It would have taken her 2 seconds to run out there. Rod Taylor did it 2 seconds earlier. But no,
she didn't.
Let's just let the gas flow.
She hadn't finished her drink.
Clearly, she had a half an old fashioned. She was still downing. So it's a sad situation.
Can I have a sidecar with that? Yeah.
Pretty much.
And how come the pigeons or the gulls are not attacking the bar?
It comes and goes. The birds will attack, and then they stop attacking. Because I guess that's the kind of that builds the suspense as well. When is the attack going to happen next? What's going to go on? There's also questions about those two damn lovebirds. You know, can we bring the lovebirds with us? Hell no, you can't bring those damn lovebirds with us. I'd have tossed those in the fire 5 minutes after the birds attack. Be done with it. Please, we'll get you a gecko or something.
Anybody?
They've been in a cage. They had that look in their eye. Yeah.
Little Kathy, if those birds were out, they would be eating your mother's eyes right now.
Right now, damn it. There are multiple scenes of people driving through town being attacked by birds because they do not roll up their windows. Multiple scenes.
This is America. You can't make me roll up my window. Don't tread on me.
Absolutely. Well, they would park their car with the windows rolled down. It's like, what? I know it's a safe town. It ain't that safe.
In those movies, no, I remember people leaving the key in the ignition. When I was in Iceland, the driver would take the key and put it on under the front tire, and then we'd be gone for 3 hours with all our valuables inside.
The final scene of this movie, they have survived the night in their farmhouse, which was, again, under siege by the birds. They're literally getting through the walls, getting through the doors.
Okay, friend, you're cutting over one of the good parts.
Oh,
one
jump
of the
in
parts that I thought was really effective, because we skipped over the finches coming through the fireplace. They're attacking the house. And at one point, the gulls are coming through the window and crashing through. And I keep wanting to call him Rod Steiger.
Not Rod Steiger. Rod Taylor.
Rod Taylor puts his
name is
arm
Mitch
through...
Brenner is the character, by the way.
Maybe that Mitch with the itch. All right. So Mitch is got his hand through there, and the gulls are coming in, just taking chunks out of his finger.
Getting at his hand, yeah.
Getting at his hand, and you can just feel it. You can feel it. If you've ever been bitten by like someone's parrot or bird, it hurts like a motherfucker.
Absolutely, like razor sharp.
Oh my God. So that was pretty effective. He's literally ripping the cords out. And then a little while later, after you think everything's calmed down, Tippi Hedren almost got her eyes plucked. Pluck it out.
Right. Well, she, unmotivated for no reason, she goes upstairs to do something.
She was a ding dong daddy-o.
Goes upstairs to the bedroom, opens up the door, and again, the birds have ripped through the ceiling and are now just chilling in the bedroom. So when she gets in there, they immediately start attacking her. And for some reason, she closes the door behind her after she gets in.
No, that was one of the ding dong daddy-o scenes. I did not care for that. I was like, really? Just turn your back to the frickin' birds and open your eyes and open the door. First of all, you're a jackass for going up there to begin with, so you get what you get. But if you're too feeble that you cannot figure out how to get through a door that's not locked, then you deserve it. I hope she has a big old kind of crazy Frankenstein scar on her face after that.
No question. Well, that's the thing. They're pecking you anyway. So you might as well just open the door.
Open the damn door. Just suck it up. Or you can put your hand across your forehead and just faint. And then you're purge you from the gene pool. You don't need to multiply then.
Right. She has the vapors and collapses in front of the door. So of course Rod Steiger is trying to get at her, but he has to literally push her out of the way to open the door to drag her corpse out.
I'm sure she weighs 15 pounds, and half of that was tweed.
Easy. No question. Later when they escape, I kept thinking, why are you escaping in the convertible? That seemed like a bad move. We've established they go through solid oak. I think the convertible fabric, that ain't going to do much. So maybe take
I
the
just
truck?
literally
I don't know.
wrote down, why didn't we just leave town 2 days ago?
These are all important questions. We may never
But
know the answers.
we may never know.
Again, no explanation what caused the birds to attack. And in the end, the birds are still out there, still hungry for human flesh.
So there's literally at the end of the movie 10,000 birds waiting, but they were cool with walking through the birds to get to the car. Why didn't they just do that the day before?
Well, it depends. It depends what's happening. If they're not actively attacking you, you can evidently just walk amongst them, like the
Yeah.
Birdman of Alcatraz.
I think what we saw, though, is they gather right before they attack. So if I open the front door and there's 10,000 on the lawn looking at me, that means it's on.
It's
We
not
got
like
about
Donkey
2
Kong.
minutes and then it's on.
Well, and that's the other thing. You ask, why did they leave 2 days ago? If you're listening to the radio, they said most people have left. It's evidently just Rod Steiger and the gang chilling in the farmhouse.
Rod Steiger.
Now it's all going to be Rod Steiger, courtesy of you. Very upsetting.
Again, you get what you get. And then the crazy school marm is a martyr. Thank you, Rod Steiger. We'll blame Rod Steiger for her death.
It's Rod Steiger's fault.
So he ends up, he gets to F his mom as he always dreamed of. The end.
As he always dreamed of. The end. Anything else? Shall we go right to behind the scenes?
I wrote down Tippy eaten by birds, but not screaming. And we need to discuss my idea because I think Lydia is in fact the witch. At first, I couldn't decide if it was Suzanne Plachette or if it's Lydia. What do you think?
So Lydia is Jessica Tandy.
Yeah.
And Annie, what the hell's her name? Annie Hayworth is
Who's
Suzanne
the witch?
Plachette.
Because logically, Lydia doesn't know about Tippy, but Annie does. So maybe Annie's the witch, and she, like the witches of Eastwick, her powers got too out of control. And
Well, what happens? She gets her eyeballs poked out, right? Is that what we're supposed to think?
Right. So I'm not saying that necessarily she's sending the birds to do bidding, but remember in Witches of Eastwick, like when they were together, things just started happening that were like a subconscious thing. So I think
Interesting.
Annie subconsciously brought the birds when she felt threatened. And it's a subconscious thing. What do you think about that idea?
I think it
Or
sounds
do
like
you
nonsense.
like the idea that Lydia is a witch?
I prefer the idea that a satellite that was irradiated by vapors from Venus
Are they
came
zombie?
down,
Are they zombie
and
birds?
they turned all the birds against us. So I needed at least one scene where Richard Chamberlain has a flamethrower. Can we not have that scene? That's all I'm asking.
That would have been good, but then it would have burned. That would have been a flaming bird would have landed in the gas pump.
And then that would have been all she wrote anyway. Very
Womp
sad.
womp.
Shall we talk about behind the scenes?
Might as well.
At the UK premiere of The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock hid speakers, or had speakers hidden in the trees around the theater. So when people left, there were the sounds of birds blasting at them.
Beautiful.
To make them extra afraid.
Beautiful.
Alfred Hitchcock revealed on the Dick Cavett show, if you remember that, that 3,200 birds were trained for the movies, and that the ravens were the cleverest and the seagulls were the most vicious.
I believe it. And they're big.
Yep.
No, they say ravens, even now, they remember. If you're good to them, they'll bring you treats. If you're bad to them, they'll remember. Well,
scientists who study ravens have to wear masks because they'll recognize your face. And if you're effing with them, pop go the eyeballs.
Pop go the eyeballs.
Rod Taylor claims that all the birds were fed a mixture of wheat and whiskey. It was the only way to get them to stand around so much. Yeah. They were drugged. Tippi Hedren's age was listed as 28 in press releases, but she was actually 33. And actually, years later, had to tell people, no, I was never. I was not 28 when I filmed The Birds. I was 33.
And why do you even
So
need
there
to
you
know their ages for a press release?
I need to know. I need to know all the
Inquiring
things about there.
minds.
That's correct. This was Tippi Hedren's like big break, essentially. They say that Alfred Hitchcock was in love with Grace Kelly. So that when Grace Kelly stopped doing his movies, he was desperate to find another Grace Kelly. That's why there's just a parade of blonde women.
Type, yeah. He had this creepy type, yeah.
One right after another. Ava Marie Saint, Tippi Hedren. The list goes on and on. It's very strange.
Grace Kelly was a beauty.
She was great. Dynamite. He saw her in a commercial for a diet drink, walking down the street, and said, "That's the one. That's the one who's got to be in my movie." So there you go.
I mean, she's fine as an actress. She's fine.
She ain't Meryl Streep, but it wasn't like her acting distracted you by how lousy it was.
No, she's a little stiff, but whatever. It was fine.
Well, give her a break. She was doing diet commercials 5 weeks before she was on the set of The Birds. Very upsetting.
No, there's no break.
No breaks? Very sad. She later starred in Marnie for Alfred Hitchcock,
that's
starring
so creepy. Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. Is that Marnie over there I see? I don't know if that's a line from the movie.
Marnie is a ridiculous movie. It's one of the worst ones.
The schoolhouse in the movie was rumored as being haunted, and people who filmed in the schoolhouse remember feeling a haunted feeling while they were filming there. So, ooh.
And the schoolhouse is not in Bodega Bay. There's Bodega, a town called Bodega, and then there's Bodega Bay. So you will not find these two things. They're near each other, but you can't see the water in Bodega.
Yes, they're very close to Portland, Maine, evidently. And not to mention, there's the crazy old Irish drunk at the counter. It's like the end of the world, I say. It's like, really? Where is this place? This United Nations of bizarre accents.
It's the nexus of the universe.
Clearly. So Melanie wears the same.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. She wears the same green suit, like you said. So Tippi Hedren was provided with 6 identical green suits for the shoot.
Okay.
I
love those suits. I love that style from back then. It was very sharp. People dressed well when they went out. It's not flip-flops and an old dirty shirt with your cooch hanging out.
That's exactly what it is. That was the style. There's been a lot of talk of filming the bedroom scene that it took a week to do, and it was a lot of Alfred Hitchcock literally throwing birds at Tippi Hedren's face. So much so that after they finished that scene, she had to take like a week off to like rest and recuperate. So there are scenes where it's literally just a stand-in for Tippi Hedren.
Yikes.
Like it basically gave her like PTSD.
They said he was a sadist.
Yes, well, it's that thing, and people talk about this, where he really mistreated these women who starred in his movies because they weren't Grace Kelly. Like he was disappointed in them just because they weren't who he wanted Grace Kelly.
Right.
She's like, F off, I'm marrying the Prince of Monaco. You're on your own, big guy. And he would just take it out on these women.
Yeah.
Very sad situation.
He's fascinating.
Shall we talk about the cast?
Please.
He's yes.
Oh, wait. I thought you had an explanation why all these people have Maine accents.
No, there's no explanation.
Okay. Never mind.
Because it seems like they should have Maine accents based upon that it's like a fishing community is my theory. Does that work for you?
No, little known fact is in Northern California, most of the fishermen are Portuguese. Portuguesa.
Portuguesa. That's Italian. Okay. Okay, we know about Alfred Hitchcock, who wrote it. It was actually based upon a story by Daphne du Maurier called The Birds. but there's really not a whole lot of connection. Like the characters are totally different. It's just birds attack, and the story ends, spoiler alert, with the main character being killed by the birds. So,
Oh,
but
that
other
would
than
have been
that,
good. And of course, Daphne du Maurier wrote What Other, which was a great dramatic movie. What's the other book?
Diabolique,
Brother Rebecca.
Brother Rebecca. I'm not familiar with that movie.
Shut your hole.
That's a weird one. I don't judge. Alfred Hitchcock directed this. Obviously, Psycho, which I'd love to do on this show at some point.
Yeah.
Vertigo, North by Northwest, The Birds, obviously Shadow of a Doubt.
We already did Shadow of a Doubt.
That's what I'm saying.
Throw Mama from the train.
Throw Mama from the train. Exactly. You know, don't you? The cast. You've got Rod Taylor, played Mitch Brennan. You know him from The Birds, The Time Machine, Inglourious Bastards. Do you know who he was in that?
No. Wait. No.
He's in one scene. He was Winston Churchill.
Oh my God, I have to watch that again. I do love
There's
that
a scene.
movie.
There's a scene where Michael Fassbender, looking very dashing with his mustache,
He's so attractive.
is recruited to work with Brad Pitt and the gang by a crazy Scottish, or actually English accented Mike Myers, telling him what the plan is. And then in the background, you see this fat bald guy who's evidently supposed to be Winston Churchill, and that was Rod Taylor, unrecognizable because he's 1,000 years old at this point.
Oh my God,
he looks just like Winston Churchill.
I'm gonna have to watch.
He was
that
also, shockingly, he was also the voice of Pongo from 101 Dalmatians.
I can't even remember. I think the last time I saw Pongo, I was a child.
Well, he's the male Dalmatian, the lead Dalmatian.
It's so long ago. I was like, "What the hell is Pongo?" I cannot tell you the name of Pongo and Mongo, or I don't know.
There was no Mongo in this. That's very upsetting. Jessica Tandy played Lydia Brenner, and she, you know her from Driving Miss Daisy, Fried Green Tomatoes, Batteries Not Included, The Birds. She was already married to Hume Cronin, who we've discussed was in the other Alfred Hitchcock movie, Shadow of a Doubt. Coincidence?
And he already looked 110 then.
That's correct. Suzanne Pleshette, you know her from
Bob Newhart.
The Bob Newhart Show. Because
Right.
remember, in the 70s, it was the Bob Newhart Show. In the 80s, it was just called Newhart.
But
There were different shows.
the season finale, or the series finale of Newhart, Bob rolls over and Suzanne Plechette's in bed with him.
Yes, that was one of the greatest endings in TV history. Right.
Maybe
At
the
at
last great
finale.
ending. Yeah, the last great ending in TV history.
The finale, he rolls over, he's in bed, because Suzanne Pleshette played his wife in the original series, and it revealed that the entire series, Newhart from the 80s, was just a dream.
That was so amazing. It was
Brilliant.
so amazing.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
She was also a voice in Spirited Away, the famous Japanese anime.
I
And
love
something
Spirited
called
Away.
If It's...
Who did
She was
she
also
play?
in-
Suzanne Pleshette was in Spirited Away?
She was the voice of Zeniba. Does that mean anything to you?
Is that the witch?
Or I've never seen Spirited Away.
Shut your mouth. It is one of the greatest movies of all time.
That's what they say.
You know I don't go in for nonsense usually.
Suzanne Pleshette was also in a movie called If It's Tuesday, This Must Be Belgium. You know it, don't you?
I've heard the title. I've never seen the movie.
Tippi Hedren played Melanie Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
You know her from The Birds, Marnie, Roar. We haven't even talked about Roar. Do you know what Roar is?
No idea.
Okay. In the 80s, Tippi Hedren and her husband at the time basically turned their house, this is true, into like a wild cat sanctuary.
Oh, yeah, she still has that. Is she still alive? I think she might be still alive. I remember seeing that. She
She's
like
still alive.
retired. She retired from
And they made a
acting early.
movie. They made a movie about the trials and tribulations of having frickin' lions running around your house.
But
Like literally, Melanie Griffith
was Joe
would be
Exotic
sleeping in her
that?
bed. Was who? Say what?
Was Joe Exotic in that?
No, sadly, no. Perhaps it couldn't have been much worse. But Melanie Griffith would be in bed and like a lion would climb into bed with her. It's all fun and games until people are literally getting gored. Like, you don't get gored, but getting slashed or bit. Melanie Griffith had like a bunch of stitches because like literally like bit her head. Crew members were getting mauled by. Yeah, it's a horror story.
Do you remember growing up in Palm Springs? People had lions and things. I remember seeing Gates.
Shut the hell! Yes, and if you went to the pet store, there were chimps hanging in the window next to the pig.
I remember being out in some of the older parts where there'd be big signs on the gates, warning.
You were out of your damn mind. I don't remember any of this stuff.
Ask mommy.
I'm not gonna. First of all, I don't refer to my mother as mommy anymore, but thank you. Veronica Cartwright played Kathy Brenner. We talked about her. You know her from Alien, The Witches of Eastwick, Birds, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. She's still around doing her thing. Good for her.
Right on.
I think that's about it. Shall we talk about the rating?
First of all, I just want to say a couple of things about this movie.
You may not.
It is beyond iconic. When I was up in San Francisco, I was at my friend Linda's house, and she was showing me her Barbie collection. There is literally Tippi Hedren Barbie in the gray suit with birds attached to it. An official Barbie.
I don't believe that. That's a damn lie.
I got a picture to prove it. I took a picture. I was like, that's the greatest Barbie ever invented. And then, of course, in the famous TV series Roseanne, back in the early days when Roseanne was so freaking hysterical, and Halloween would be their big event. It wouldn't be a Christmas special. It'd always be a big Halloween one. Her daughter Becky came out as Tippi Hedren. She had like an eye had fallen out, and there were like birds everywhere and blood. Birds were attached all along this gray suit.
Which Becky was it though?
It was first Becky because it was early days, so it was the good show. Once the old Becky arrived, or the new Becky, it all down the shithole.
They still gave a role. Both Beckys are in the new show, The Connors. Like they made a new character for the other actress because she played it for several years.
Wait a minute,
she wasn't like a mid-season.
Go ahead. They fired Becky when she went to college, but when Darlene went to college, they worked around her schedule.
What does that tell you?
Exactly.
The rating for this movie is 95% fresh
100%
by Rotten Tomatoes. There are top critics, but none that I recognize. I might read one to you just for fun.
Did they not have critics in the 60s? All right, read top critics.
All of these reports are from like 2000 or later, so I don't know what the story is.
What the?
The Variety staff gave it a rotten review, saying, beneath all this elaborate feather bedlam lies a Hitchcock cock and bull story that's essentially a foul ball. What the?
First of all, I'm giving that review a 1-star rating. That is ridiculous.
What is your rating?
Too hard. Oh, straight up, I'm going to give it 4 birds pecking your eye out of 5.
I will give it 4 out of 5 lighting cigars while bathing in gasoline. How's that sound?
Perfect.
So I think it's definitely enjoyable to watch. I think the performances are good. The birds are surprisingly effective, even though a lot of them are.
That was the sequel, The Bears, where bears are on the jungle gyms waiting. Suddenly, there's 10,000 bears.
Just for the bears. Yes. But a lot of the birds were like fake birds, like little statues. Some were puppets. Some were just things they just threw them. In spite of all that, it was remarkably effective. I do not find it scary. So it's good for the whole family, although somebody gets their eyes plucked out. So
there is a dead dude with like hollowed out eyes. So there is
That's no fun. That's no fun. But other than that, I recommend it. I say check it out. It's a good time had by all.
I agree. I love Hitchcock.
So thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Aaron, are we really on Instagram, or is it just some kind of weird free-for-all over there?
We're on the Insta, so go ahead and sign up. I'll follow you back. Don't send me porn. Don't tell me, Russian fans, that I have won yet another iPhone 13 3 times a day.
Well, you can offer it. I need an iPhone 13, so just send me one. You don't have to
just
tell me.
Just send me it. You don't have to send me a private message on that.
You can email us, Russian fans, at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So make sure you like, share, rate, and review if you would be so kind. Aaron, are you on any social media that is not with Russian sex bots?
Actually, I think it's all Russian sex bots, except for the folks from India who like to send videos of people being swallowed by snakes. But beyond that, I am the Cult of Aaron on the Insta and the Twitski. I am also Don't Feed the Pigeon. Unless you have like beautiful art on your Insta, I'm probably not following you back, but live and learn.
Very sad. Live and learn. Next time, we'll be discussing the new classic, possibly, the horror film that's in theaters today, X, directed by Ty West, starring Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Brittany Snow, Kid Cudi. It's an all-star cast. So check that out. Sadly, it's not streaming anywhere. You actually have to get off your behind and go to the theater.
I had to go and pay money and sit into a theater, which I do enjoy. I get excited going to the movies, but I usually like a better movie.
Whoa, spoiler alert. Anywho, go see that movie and we'll talk about it next time. So thank you very much and be well.
Be well, people. Don't have sex with the very old. That's my advice this week.